Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to begin by saying Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'asham Yahweh Shai, Ba'asham Kadash, double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and salutations to the sincere Akim that push the truth in all due diligence and sincerity. I would like to begin by reading Habakkuk, the second chapter, verse 2. Yea, also because he transgresseth by wine, referring to the philosophies of this man and the wicked doctrines that he pushes out. The wicked laws that he passes, man, so he can instigate all types of exploitation and fuckery upon the people. He is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell and is as deaf and cannot be satisfied. Anytime, anywhere you go upon the face of this planet Earth, you're gonna see these Edomites, man, meddling in people's business, trying to get, trying to exploit people, trying to get something out of the populace, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as deaf and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations and heapeth unto him all people, building these metropolis type cities, of which London is one. America as a whole, really and truly, that whole country, man, is literally nothing but a massive experiment, man. They've got masses of people, man, all in that one landmass that migrated there. Some migrated there. Our people were taken there for the most part in slavery, and ultimately they've got Jake and these heathen believing that there's still hope in that land, man. You got that same vibration that's pushed out across the face of the planet Earth, all the way into the European nations. And for the purpose of this video, I'm gonna quickly tackle a topic in regards to England. But man, this man's kingdom is teetering on this on this end. Shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his, the thieving devil, the thief that cometh not but for to steal, kill, and to destroy, with his track record exhibiting exactly that nature. How long? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay, the word clay goes into the Hebrew word abatya, which means debt, because this whole society is a credit based system based on debt. That's essentially how you even build a credit system. Your credit system is built up by you taking out debt and managing that consistently, and proving to other lenders that you're then able to pretty much take on additional and larger debts. Shall they not rise up suddenly that shall bite thee, and awake that shall vex thee, and thou shalt be for booties unto them? But in the midst of this whole society, this controlled demolition of this fiat based currency that this man is instigating, when he tries to rise up and set up his digital ID system, going into the mark of the beast, Revelations, the 13th chapter and the 16th verse, the Lord's going to strike him through when he's about to fill his belly, man. Because thou hast spoiled many nations. All the remnant of the people shall spoil thee. Everyone's felt the wrath of Esau, Edom. Everyone's been under this man's subjugation. And as a result of that, the Lord's going to make sure, man, that he also is on the receiving end of some harsh judgment. Because thou hast spoiled many nations, all the remnant of the people shall spoil thee. Because of men's blood and for the violence of the land, of the city, and of all that dwell therein. Woe to him that coveteth an evil covetousness to his house, always looking for what he can steal from other nations, always starting war for the sake of profiteering and racketeering, man. All wars are bankers' wars. Good documentary to watch, man. The way that these bankers will fund both sides of a war. Um, the nation that needs to rebuild, that loses the war, has to get funding from their institutions like the IMF, the central banks of of their country, which ultimately are Amalek owned anyway, and go back to the small hats. Names like the Rothschilds, Rockefeller should come to mind, DuPonts, those types of elite banking bloodline families. And then on top of that, even the nations that are victorious have to go to them for the want of all things in terms of their weaponry and machinery. Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, those types of companies. Who do you think owns those? The small hats. They fund the victor, and also the loser has to come to them to pretty much finance themselves to get themselves back onto their feet. They own the whole financial services sector, man. They run it. They own the central banks in over 90% of all of the nations upon the face of the planet Earth. The elite banking families, man. The family of Amalek, the head tribe of Esau, Edom. Woe to him that coveteth an evil covetousness to his house, that he may set his nest on high, that he may be delivered from the power of evil. This man is going to get judged for all of the wickedness that he's done. It even goes on to say in the scripture in verse 12, woe to him that buildeth a town with blood and establisheth a city by iniquity. And for the purpose of this visual, England, London, is a city established by iniquity. Here in the UK at the moment, the Bank of England base rate is at 5%, meaning that the minimum rates that you can get any sort of government bank or financial lending from the from a retail bank is going to be at a minimum of 6% at its lowest, potentially even 7, because like I said earlier, we live in a debt-based system where ultimately the consumer, the customer, is in debt to the retail bank. The retail bank is then in debt to the central bank, and then the central banks of these different countries ultimately feed into um, the IMF, man, and other global institutions that essentially are the core decision makers are the core decision makers when it comes to financial policy. Now here we live under a so-called democracy, so-called demonocracy, and Esau Edom's that got the Conservative Party in power at the moment, who are more in favor of the bourgeoisie, the higher ups, the more wealthy, whereas the Labour Party are seen more as the People's Party. Regardless of who's in power, the agenda still remains the same: to launch the CBDCs and destroy this fiat-based currency, making it look like an accident. Now it says here, first-time buyers will need gigantic £102,000 deposit to purchase a home. Labour's analytics of government figures rocketing interest rates are now likely to require found Rocketeering interest rates are now likely to require 3 times the 30,000 figure people had to save just a year ago. So, in short, literally just a year ago, 12 months ago, people would have had to save circa 30,000 in particular regions of the country to keep their monthly repayments at a certain level. Yeah, in order for them to now keep a mortgage term around about the same time and also maintain the same type of monthly month to month payments, essentially making sure that they're able to afford a house in the same time span, they now need an average of 102k. Yeah, from 30 grand to 102k in the space of a year. 13 Bank of England base rate rises. First time buyers will need 102,000 deposit to keep mortgage payments at the same level as a year ago, researchers found. Labour's analytics of government figures found rocketing interest rates are now likely to require 3 times the 30,000 figure. So the minimum 90,000, but they've put an estimate of 102%. 3 times the 30,000 figure people had to save just a year ago. Interest rates rose for the 13th time in a row last month to 5%, the highest level since 2008. The Bank of England is expected to raise rates again on August the 3rd, which is going to be their next committee meeting on inflation, and ultimately that would then make it the 14th rate rise. This is the highest rates have been since 2008, and if you just look up history, um, going back to 2008, the main issue was that bank lending was not as regulated as it was before, as it was is currently. Salakia, bank lending wasn't as regulated as it is currently. In some instances, if you had a branch manager friend, you could walk in there, show pay slips, and just confirm that you're earning a particular wage. They will take no account of any sort of other lending you had or how over leveraged you were, and they just give you mortgages or loans at your behest. Now the issue with that is that obviously people were overly ambitious and over leveraged themselves and ended up in situations where they took out too much debt to repay, and then that's when the banks were not able to get their loans back, and as a result of that, the government had to come in and bail the banks out, and that's how you had the financial crisis of 2008. As a result of that, because taxpayer money, the public money had to be used, and there was a whole crazy amount of media coverage on it. The banks had to then pretty much instigate. What's the word I'm looking for? They had to basically pretty much apply stern regulations for the way that they lend money, and then you had the introduction of institutions like the Financial Conduct Authority, the Financial Services Compensation Scheme that covers people up to 75k if a bank collapses, etc. And ultimately, finance became a lot more regulated and based on algorithms, AI, etc., rather than um, human judgment, you know. And ultimately, now with the next crash happening in the late 2000s into 2023 where we're currently based, the next system to come pursuant to Revelations 13:16 is the RFID chip technology, man, where this man is ultimately going to have everything programmable and traceable, man. CBDCs to start off with, and they're gonna eventually go into your hands, man. You see here a region by region view of deposits where just 1 year ago deposits at 88%. So let's just say you was looking for a property, right? The average house price among UK first-time buyers is 253,000. According to the latest figures from the Office of National Statistics, a year ago, the typical deposit for first-time buyers was 30 grand, meaning that they would borrow 223k on average, right? So let's just say you went in for a 88% loan, right? So you had the remaining 12%. So deposit at 88% 1 year ago in the northeast of England, to keep your repayments the same, you would have had to pay 17,431. Not even that bad. Now, it's just the same time this year, and then your monthly repayments would have been 591. Now, for the same area this year, you now need to pay 59,300 in order to keep that same sort of monthly repayment going and keep your term relatively the same. Northwest of England, you're looking £22,902. So £22,292 a year ago. 756 would have been your monthly repayment. That's gone up to 75,000, more than double. Let's look at the West Midlands, like the Birmingham region. Yeah, 24,664 just a year ago. Your monthly repayment would have been £836. Now you're looking at 83,900. 4 times, well, not quite 4 times, just under 4 times, but more than three and three quarters. Insane. London, insanity. You would have needed 52,648 a year ago, and your monthly repayments would have been 1,785. Now, guess what? You need 178,900 as a deposit. As a first time buyer, you need £178,000. Let's round that up, £179,000 in order to be able to buy your first property, man, and keep your payments at 1,785. Insane. Even Northern Ireland has gone from 17,787 all the way up to 60,400. In short, it's unaffordable, man. Completely unaffordable. And this is not just affecting people with mortgages, this is affecting the rental market also. Because at the end of the day, most of these own homeowners have buy to lets where they're either living landlords or they might live in a separate property with their families and just have people living in there paying off the mortgage. Well, guess what? Because Esau Edom, ultimately speaking, is purposely crashing this economy. The people's got to suffer, man. And it's going to get to a point where ultimately you're going to have to make a choice of either taking that CBDC MOTB infusion and continuing on with society in wickedness, or you're going to have to take a stand and be ostracized, man. And at the end of the day, we know the end judgment for those that take the chip. It's in that Revelations, the 14th chapter. So what are we going to do? We're going to, Lord willing, Yahweh Bashmi Hawashai Ratazah, stand firm with the Lord. But the vast majority of these people are going to fold. Isaiah 10:1. Woe to them, unto them, that decree unrighteous decrees, and that right grievousness which they have prescribed, to turn aside the needy from judgment, and to take away the right from the poor of my people, that widows may be their prey, and that they may rob the fatherless. Because you even have Jeremy Hunt, the Chancellor, at the moment, right, for the Conservatives. And hey, the law's gonna Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai Ratazah destroy this place real soon. We're definitely not gonna make it to like brothers, are mostly in their mid 30s, late 20s for the most part. We're not gonna make it in this kingdom until our 60th year, XYZ, etc. Yeah, this place is gonna be gone way before then. Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai Ratazah very soon. Now, you've got another conundrum, which is the pension schemes. So pensions essentially, where if you're on a pay as you earn, you work, your one of the particular schemes is your workplace can make matched contributions to your pension, There's other ways of investing into pensions also. Not going to go into all of the nitty gritty and the detail, but ultimately, you got a situation whereby the um the government has decided that they are going to allow the companies that manage pensions to invest people's pensions into startup companies. That's an idea that's being floated at the moment by Jeremy Hunt, man. When over 60% of startups fail, but in order to make the UK a hub for technology, which is what they're trying to push, which ultimately goes into the artificial intelligence, the CBDC development and other wicked devices that they've got. They want to start investing people's pension money that they've worked hard for into startups, man, potentially businesses that might fail. Meaning that ultimately, if the Lord was to allow this kingdom to continue on, I guarantee you, by the time that people were of the age of 50 plus, 60, 70, whatever, trying to retire and looking for their funds that they've worked for, those pension pots would have disappeared, man. Trust me. Because, man, listen, this man, at the end of the day, man, runs a society on unjust balances, man. During the COVID-19 pandemic, during the CV, they printed so much money during that quantitative easing period. You know why? Because ultimately speaking, they're trying to purposely destroy the fiat-based currency system, man. That's why they've increased the velocity, even though there weren't that many goods being produced during COVID for the money to chase, because they knew what it would result in. And now they're trying to make it look like they're actually actively trying to solve the problem that the people are facing in regards to inflation, where they knew exactly what their actions were going to cause. And now they're raising the Bank of England base rate because they know that's then also going to make the existing lending within the system more expensive for people, and it's designed as a model to squeeze people into spending specifically on what's primarily important. But the average salary is not keeping up with the rates of the rate increases from literally 0 point, I believe, what was it, circa 0.25, I believe, um, all the way up to where it is now, about 5%. This man has purposely destroyed the system and is going to grind people to a halt until they have no other option but to lap it out of his hands and take that CBDC um, infused chip, man. Revelations 13 to 16, and he calls of all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that have understanding count the number of beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 636. The MOTB, man, the mark of the beast, the RFID chip, man, that this man is going to use as the go-to system for transacting in the not too distant future. And you know what the message is. We ain't supposed to partake in that in no type of way. That is the mark of the beast, man. That's a future major future prophecy, man, that a lot of our people are not ready for. This financial system is about to crash. Yeah, there ain't no going back for it. And it's about time, man, that Esau Edom Yahweh Bashem Yahushua Razar pushes that chip, man. Because when he does that, man, we know that we're not too far off. We know we're not too far off from World War III kicking off and Yahweh Shai returning, man, to deliver his elect, and Lord willing, we be a part of that number. But man, woe unto them that flee onto Egypt for help, man, that trust in the shadow of Egypt. People that thought that they were gonna be able to get their nice 2 bedroom flat in London and scale that and then look for their 4 bedroom house and build a family and leave a property to their children. It's over, man. That pipe dream is done. It's been over. Unaffordable. And it's going to continue to get worse in this society, man, to the point where people are literally going to have to be out here scavenging and fighting for food. Second Ezra, the 15th chapter, man, speaks about people warring each other in the streets, swords in their hands, man, because ultimately it's going to become a matter of the survival of the fittest. People are literally going to have to do what they got to do to survive. Survival mode, man. It's going to be the standard out here. And Esau Edom is not going to prevail with that RFID chip technology he's trying to institute, because the law is going to stop him in his tracks. Anyone that takes that chip, man, man, the judgment of the Lord, Revelations the 14th chapter, is written for you, man. You're going to swim in that lake of fire that the Lord's going to send from those missiles and the chariots also, man. This society is completely done. The housing market is collapsing, man. And this man is purposely destroyed it, man. Regardless of whether Labour or the Conservatives are in power, it's over. At that point, interest rates on the 2 year fixed mortgage were 2.65% last year, which would mean the average monthly repayment of £1,017. To achieve the same monthly repayments this year, with comparable interest rates at 6.45%, would require a deposit of £102,000. Come on, man. Come on, man. The point has been made. This society cannot be salvaged. Look at this shit. Look at the jumps on the right hand column from the left just over a year ago. 12 months. Look at the difference. 13 Bank of England base rate rises, and that number is not just randomly there. Anyway, the point has been made. Kwame Ashala, we're nearly out of here. Stay firm, Akim, and remember, here we have no continuing city, but we seek one to come. Shalom.